Welcome back to the Boot Tragedies, man. Obviously, the season is over. All season time. A lot to talk about. Recapping the season and things like that. But all season time, you will see a lot of all season videos from me. If it's mock drafts, players we should sign, free agency, players we'll lose, game, things like that. It'll be a lot. It's going to be a long off season. I'll definitely hop right into it though with the off season things, probably starting next week or the middle or the end of this week. So, but before we get to that, we're gonna just kind of recap the season. Well, not really recap, but just some of my thoughts on the season, on some of these position groups and things like that. And like always, we'll start with the offensive line. I think may have been the worst offensive line play in Saints history since Sean Payton's been there, at least, which is pretty bad. Pete went down early, but we all know what Pete brings to the table. McCoy did not look the greatest this year, and he was also injured this year. Had some replacement guys in there for a while. Armstead went down, but that's obvious. He's going to always go down. Don't think he'll be a Saint next year. Ramchick was down for the whole year. I'm glad he played that last game just to, know that injury is over with, basically. And he can go into his off season, be healthy, being able to train and things like that. That's very important for guys not to go into the off season still hurt. If you go into the off season hurt, now you're rehabbing all throughout the off season. You can't really train. You can't get in shape. You can't run. You can't do things like that. And that's going to suck. That's going to suck. So hopefully, he still remain healthy after that game and he's able just to train throughout the off season. He may be making a move to left tackle soon. We'll see, how that goes. But offensive line group, man, I think it was just a bad year for them. And obviously, we're not going to talk about Cesar Ruiz too much because I'm in a good mood and I'm just not going to do it. But we all know what he did this year. Nothing. Running back group, I think that's another group that was just a letdown. But obviously, if the offensive line were a letdown, then probably the running back group is probably going to be a letdown. Kamara was Kamara. He had his moments in this year. He also was hurt, which is a common theme, obviously, with this team. But Tony Jones Jr., man, I had high expectations for him after that preseason. I thought he was going to be a real number 2 guy. Going to, finish the season with 400, 500, 600 yards and things like that. He obviously never stepped into that role, never really looked good running the ball. Obviously, the offensive line was in shambles, but he just never, made a real contribution to the team this year. Went out, had to go get Mark Ingram because of that, trying to, restore that fire with him and Alvin Kamara. That didn't really work out because he got injured as well. So all 3 running backs were injured at one point this year. And as I said earlier, that's just a common theme with this team this year. Moving on to the receivers, man. I don't know if I can call it a letdown. They didn't play, as expected, but I won't call it a letdown just for this reason. Michael Thomas didn't play a snap. So you got Traquan Smith, who was hurt. Callaway trying to be the number 1 receiver. Deontay Harris trying to become a receiver. You got Ty Montgomery, Lil Jordan Humphrey, who had his moments this year. And they're all, basically playing one spot further than what they would be. Callaway's wide receiver 1. He could have been 2 if MT was here. Traquan Smith 3, so on and so forth. And that's much easier. Callaway getting the number 1 corners from each team every week. He wasn't ready for that. I can't blame him for not, getting open as much as he should have when you're going up against the top guys every week. And that's honestly where Michael Thomas would be. Those guys would be, that attention would be on Michael Thomas if he was healthy and playing. So the receivers, they came on late, but average year at best. I won't call them disappointing just because they were asked to do much more than they, should have been asked to do. So just a very average year from them. They're going to have to be better next season. Hopefully Michael Thomas is there to help them. Traquan Smith's a free agent. I doubt he'll come back, but we'll see. Next up, man, the quarterback play. This really deserves its own video, and I probably will do it, their own video on each position group, maybe. But quarterback for sure deserves its own video, but we won't give it one today. Jameis Winston was having the best season of his career, was actually, still being game managed by Sean Payton. I won't say Sean Payton was holding him back, but Sean Payton was just making sure, he was ready to take over, the helms and then unleash him. We were 5-2 at the time. He got injured, obviously, like I said, a common theme with this team. But he was looking great, man. 5-2 before he got hurt. We were looking like we had a shot at the number 1 seed. Had already beat the Packers, beat the Patriots, beat some pretty good teams. But Injuries happened that ended his season. Trevor Siemian, man, came in that Bucks game, looked great. I'm not faulting Trevor Siemian for anything he did this year. He's a backup quarterback at best in this league. You can't expect much from him, and that just is what it is. Taysom Hill, unfortunate, because against the Falcons, he was having his best game as a Saint. That was definitely going to be his best game. Looking like he was going to throw for over 300 yards, 3-4 touchdowns maybe. Ended up breaking his foot, Liz Frank injury. He's going to need surgery. And it's just another unfortunate injury for the Saints, man. And he was having a real good game. And I've said my piece on Taysom. He's not an NFL quarterback. If he has to play it, you can design an offense around him and be successful if you can run the ball and have a good defense. But to think he's going to be, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, not even those guys. You got guys on the second level like the Herberts and the Burrows and it's just not going to be a quarterback. He's going to be a guy that's a gadget guy, run the ball, get some yards, some first downs, and things like that. But him being an everyday quarterback in the NFL, that's just not the case. But he can win you some games. Then we got Ian Book. He was just thrown in the fire. We were down 22 players due to COVID and injury. He got to start, one game this year, and it was absolutely awful. Not going to blame him. So from the quarterback play, honestly, if you take into account how Taysom played fairly well, Jameis Winston played great, the games he was out there. Siemian, he's just average. And then that Book one game, I think the quarterback play was the best position group on the team on offense side of the ball, this year. So they played pretty well if you take to account the circumstances they had to play under. And I guess since we're on offense, we just go with Sean Payton, man, since he's the offensive coordinator, hand quotations, head coach. Think he played. I killed him early in the year for play calling, but as much as I want to kill him for play calling and not getting guys open, not getting the offense moving, I can't say on one hand that the offensive line was terrible. We didn't have Michael Thomas. Quarterback play was shaky once Winston went down, and still kill him. You can't really do those two things because obviously he couldn't do anything, man. He had Trevor Siemian for 4 games, Ian Book for a game, Taysom Hill, who's not a real NFL pro-style quarterback. So you can't really fault him for the offense not being great when everything was against him. Missing your all-pro tackles, Pete being hurt, McCoy being hurt, Ruiz being trash. Like it's just hard to blame Sean Payton for that performance. But when you're the guy, you're the guy. If you're gonna take the credit, you have to take the blame. And offense just was not good this year. I don't care who was out there. I don't care about the injuries, the excuses. The offense just was not good. He hasn't had an offense outside of the top 10, I don't believe, since he's been in the Saints. I think we finished somewhere 27-28 this year. Awful from the Saints. And it's just a bad year overall. I think the play calling got better as the season went on after the Winston injury. But I can't say the play calling was bad because he was trying to protect his quarterbacks. He was trying to protect Siemian. He was trying to protect Ian Book. And he was trying to protect Taysom and Jameis in some sort as well. So I think he called the okay season, man. Pete Carmichael did call that one game, but not going to really judge you off one game and things like that. But that's the offensive wrap-up, man. Offense, I think, was very, very terrible this year, and it starts up front with the offensive line. If you don't have a good offensive line, your team's going to suck offensively, at least. Defense obviously did their thing. There'll be another video later on. But that's the offensive wrap-up. I won't say wrap-up, just a little quick synopsis over the whole year. We'll definitely have more detailed breakdowns on position players, not just the groups. Cesar Ruiz, he will be first up. I promise you, he will be first up whenever I drop the video on individual players in their kind of season review. He'll definitely be first up, and I'll probably have a lot to say about him. But that's the offensive recap, man. Thank y'all for tuning in once again. It's the Boo Tragedies, and I'm out.